Hola a todos, and welcome back to another Speech Bubble Languages support video. So we're going to start this session by trying to see what you can remember about verb conjugation. Now, if you haven't watched our previous video where we were looking at the conjugation of AR regular verbs, you might want to take a look back at that before attempting our little quiz just now to refresh your memory. So our first little quiz question then is as follows. When do we use the present tense? What is a personal pronoun? What is an infinitive? How many groups of verbs are there in Spanish? Can you remember what the steps are to conjugate a verb? If you were talking about yourself, I, what would the verb end in? But what about the other endings for the AR verb group? Like I say, if some of these questions you're uncertain about, then take a look back at our previous video and remind yourself before cracking on with this video today. So in our last video, we looked at the verb hablar, the verb to speak. Hablar at the top of our screen here is in its infinitive format. That's this form that we find the verb in the dictionary, and it's got to speak as its meaning in English. We don't know when the speaking is taking place or who's doing that activity, for example. Down the left-hand side are our personal pronouns in English. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. A reminder that top you is if you're talking to one person, and the one towards the bottom is the plural you, the Scottish yous, as we like to say. Personal pronouns do exist in Spanish too. Yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellas, ellos, y ellas. And like we discussed in the previous video, they don't tend to use these as often as we do in English. Our verbs in Spanish tend to do all the actions for us. Step number 1 then of conjugating a verb, we remove the AR ending from the verb in its infinitive to leave us with the stem. Now, can you remember what we add on to conjugate AR verbs in the present tense? I speak, hablo. You speak, hablas. He, she, or it speaks, habla. We speak, hablamos. You speak, habláis. And they speak, hablan. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Hablo, hablas, habla, habla, habla. Hablamos, habláis, hablan. But can you remember how many groups of verbs there are in Spanish? There are 3, of course. Today, we're going to take a little look at how we conjugate or form verbs which belong to the ER group and the IR group. Let's take a look at that pattern then, shall we? Let's start with an ER verb. The verb comer means to eat in Spanish. He belongs to the ER group. He's got his ER ending on there on the infinitive. Let's pop down our personal pronouns, remind ourselves of our Spanish version, and then let's conjugate those verbs. Just like with the AR verbs, the first thing we do is we take off the ER ending from the verb in its infinitive format. That leaves us with com all the way down. That's the stem, remember. So, I eat. It's not yo comer or yo com. We need to add on something to the end of that stem. I eat. Como. You eat. Comes. He, she, or it eats. Come. We eat. Comemos. You eat. Coméis. And they eat. Comen. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Como, comes, come, 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 comemos, coméis, and comen. Again, try to work really hard at memorizing that verb conjugation. Como, comes, come, 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 comemos, coméis, comen. Let's take a look at our final group of verbs, the verbs that end in IR. And we're using the verb vivir, to live, in this example. Let's take those same steps once more. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they are pronouns in that same order all the time. You can now see the verb vivir in its infinitive format, but what's that first step? That's right, we take off that IR ending to leave us with the stem. So let's conjugate an IR verb. I live. Vivo. You live, vives. He, she, or it lives, vive. We live, vivimos. You live, vivís. And they live, viven. Vivo, vives, vive. Vivimos, vivís, viven. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Vivo, vives, vive, vive, vive. Vivimos, vivís, viven. So let's put these three verb groups side by side now. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. And let's form those verbs. Hablo, hablas, habla, habla, habla. Hablamos, habláis, hablan. Our ER verbs. Como, comes, come, come, come. Comemos, coméis, and comen. And our IR verb. Vivo, vives, vive, vive, vive. Vivimos, vivís, and viven. It's really good to see these verbs and their three formats side by side, as it allows you to then start to spot patterns. For example, I talk, I eat, I live, hablo, como, vivo. You can see that O ending across the way now horizontally. There's S's also in the U format. And it's very clear to see on the we line that we have that mos there. Hablamos, comemos, vivimos. Down towards the bottom, you'll notice all of the verb conjugations end in an N as well. That can be really helpful for us when we're seeing and trying to understand written text in Spanish. So what's your job? You need to try to learn these verb conjugations off by heart. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Hablo, hablas, habla, habla, habla. Hablamos, habláis, hablan. Como, comes, come, come, come. Comemos, coméis, comen. Vivo, vives, vive, vive, vive. Vivimos, vivís, viven. And what that allows you to do then is to take all regular verbs in Spanish and apply that same pattern. It allows a bit of flexibility to your language in Spanish. So here's our final task, a few examples maybe for you to try out in your own time. On the screen here, we've got lots of different activity verbs like going for a cycle, painting, cooking, learning Spanish even. Why not try to form these verbs, conjugate these verbs using the rules that you've been learning? For example, I listen to music. Escucho música. He plays guitar. Toca la guitarra. We're learning Spanish. Aprendemos español. As always, if you have any questions about what you're seeing on the video, ask us a question, get in touch with us at any point. We're more than happy to help. So, muchísimas gracias y hasta la próxima. Thank you so much. See you next time.